be on my suit and tie. Check it. I be on my suit and tie. Let me show you a few things. Let me show you a few things.
Wait a minute. You ready, JT?
This morning, we're also talking about another awards show of sorts. The Benji's financial advisor, Rob Wilson, our regular Money Monday guest, gives out his annual Benji Awards for best performing investments of the year. Good morning. You're dressed to play the role. I love it.
Well, I try to keep myself together.
So the Benji's, explain the name, where that came from.
Well, you know, the Oscars is such a momentous experience. You know, besides the Super Bowl, it's actually the second most watched event on television.
Wow.
So about 40 million people tuned in to see these awards. So selfishly, I would like that same number of people, excuse me, to pay that same amount of attention to their finances. So I thought that, you know, on an annual basis, we talk about the stocks that performed the best last year. Now, that doesn't mean that past, you know, performance is necessarily an indicator of future performance, but I think it's good to take note of what happened last year and learn about those concepts, and you can apply them to your investment portfolio currently.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start with the Best Picture Award.
So this would, if this was the Oscars, this would be the Argo of the Oscars. And the way I put this together is around the stock market indices. So you may hear the financial journalists talk about the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and the Dow Jones. And those are broad indices that give you an overall picture of what the market looks like. And so that's why I give this award. And the winner last year was actually the NASDAQ. So this index is actually very technology weighted. So companies like Apple and Intel and Microsoft, and the NASDAQ was up 15.9% last year, which is a very good return over 1 year. The runner-up was the S&P 500, 13.4%, which is a much broader based index because you've got 500 stocks in there, and it's a better indicator of the overall market. And coming up, the runner-up in third place was the Dow Jones, only up 7%. And the thing there, the Dow Jones only has 30 stocks in it, and 30 of the largest, most widely held stocks. And actually, stocks like HP and McDonald's held the index back a little bit, but because you only have 30 there, even if you have two that have a bad year, it can knock the index down a little bit.
Interesting. All right, so who did you pick for Best Supporting Actor?
Okay, so this is the Anne Hathaway, if this was the Oscars. And at times, you know, a stock's performance can be explained by the sector in which it's in, so technology or consumer goods or something like that. So the best sector last year was actually financials. And boy, just like Hollywood likes a comeback story, so do our portfolios.
So what are financials? Explain what kind of stocks
So the big banks like Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo. And so, you know, those are the culprits that got us in the financial crisis in the first place. And so correspondingly, they went down in their stock price very much during that period. But times do get better and things do change, and so they performed very well last year. The second runner-up was consumer discretionary, which is, you might not think so. Consumer discretionary would be amounts that consumers will spend that they don't have to, so purses and shoes and watches and things like that. And you might not think that it would have performed so well when the economy isn't doing well and unemployment is so high, but wealthier people have still continued to spend money. If you go to the malls that weekend or you go to Cheesecake Factory, you'll see it doesn't seem like there's a recession, but also housing is coming back, and the housing boom has helped that a little bit. And the third runner-up here was healthcare. And so you can thank the government for this, because the Affordable Care Act, while we're still not sure if it's going to be the best thing for you and I, it's definitely helped the hospitals and it's definitely helped insurance companies. So those were three of the best performing sectors last year.
Interesting. Okay, and then we've got the Best Performance Award.
Well, this is what everyone's waiting for, right? So this would be the Daniel Day-Lewis of the Oscars. And so these are the individual stocks and investments that performed the best last year. The first stock that performed the best was Sprint Nextel, and it was actually up 138% 1% in 1 year. And the big thing here is that they finally got an opportunity to sell the iPhone.
Ah, that's why.
So AT&T and Verizon had the iPhone for some time. They finally caught up and sold 1 million iPhones, and that obviously helped their stock price. The second one here is Pulte Group, and it may not be a household name, but they're actually a home builder. And this is the sign that the home, the real estate market is coming back. Home prices are rising, and coupled with the low interest rates, it makes it a very affordable market to go buy a home, and people are starting to snap those up. And as you start to see interest rates rise, people don't want to get left out, and they say, okay, I better jump and make this move before the interest rates really go much higher. A part of the housing boom is if you buy a house, you have to have appliances in it. So the third one was Whirlpool, and so you know you've got to have washers and dryers and refrigerators and all those sorts of things. So Whirlpool was actually up 106% last year.
Oh my goodness. And then Cabot Oil and Gas.
Well, that was our winner last year, and so I wanted to make a note because they did well this year. But
that's right, I do remember now talking about the gas industry.
Yeah, only up 31%. This is a company that has benefited from our region because of the Marcellus Shale. But I wanted to make a note here because, again, what happened last year and the winter last year doesn't mean it's going to be the same thing this year. So you have to be mindful and not just chase last year. Use these concepts that we're talking about to figure out what you can do this year.
Very interesting. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And Rob Wilson, financial advisor with Blazer Capital Management, here with Money Mondays every other week.